Today I'm back with another 3 looks, 1 palette. Today it is all about the Voss Hashtag Palette. This was their newest palette, although I think they have a new one that may have just launched or is about to launch. Either way, I picked this up a few months ago and I have been playing with it. So there will be timestamps below if you're looking to skip the review, just get straight to the looks or whatever it may be, but let's go ahead and get started. Before I get into the palette itself, I do want to mention that this is a collaboration with my friend Chelle. We have collaborated before and I think this is a good one for us to collaborate on because she does the most beautiful, colorful looks. If you are looking for inspiration and are sick of the warm brown things that I put on my face all the time, definitely check out her video. She is also going to be reviewing and doing some looks with this palette, so if you want to see what it looks like on a different skin tone, she's also probably going to have some more intricate looks than what I can do. I will list her video down below, and just in general, she does great videos. I really love her channel and love her as a person, so be sure to go check out her channel either way and send her some love. But when talking about the palette itself, this is now available on Sephora, which is especially helpful for us Canadians, as ordering from the Voss website, anytime you have to order from a website that's American, it can be a little bit scary. So I purchased mine from the Sephora website. It retails for $60 Canadian and $45 American. So the price tag is definitely up there. You are getting 20 shades in the palette, but what I will say is I felt like the packaging is a little bit cheap. They're kind of a brand that started on Instagram, and I feel like they have really good quality shadows, great palettes, but I definitely feel like the price is a little bit up there. Now that they're playing with the big boys and big girls at Sephora, I think that nice packaging is something that's important, albeit it is not the most important. I would rather have a good shadow over a good package, but the majority of brands at Sephora have both. So the actual palette itself is a little bit more sturdy than the Holy Grail palette, which I have, so I will commend them for that. But the actual packaging itself to me just looks a little bit cheap, and the box that it comes in looks even cheaper. Again, the box is not that important, but you know, if you are paying a higher price item, you do kind of want to get that higher price experience. If you are interested in purchasing this palette or anything from Sephora, be sure to keep in mind that the Sephora VIB sale is coming up, and I do have a list of recommendations and information about all the dates, which I will list down below. As for the nitty-gritty on this palette itself, I do think it is really good. I think it is kind of that sunset style palette, which I really appreciate because there's a lot of warm palettes out there, and this is a good take on a warm palette in the sense that you're getting lots of warm shades in there, but you're also getting a little bit more variety, and I feel like you do have a lot of opportunities for a lot of great looks because you do have all the kind of classic warm shades. You've got a great amount of golds, then you're getting into more warms, oranges, burgundies, and then you have this whole great line of purples down here, which are just so complementary and go so nicely. So you have a great opportunity here to get day looks, night looks, bold looks, matte looks, shimmery looks. All the shimmers in here are really great. I like to use my fingers with them, but you can use a brush, you can wet them, you can not wet them. I was really impressed, and they all do have a very similar texture. Some are a little bit more shimmery and slightly more like flaky or like kind of metal, I guess, than the others, but in general it is a very kind of either super matte or super shiny palette. There's not a ton of like satin in here. What I will say, however, is I do feel like I'm kind of missing a few shades, and until I started using it, I didn't really realize, but you are getting a ton of shades in here, but I feel like there's too many shimmers. I did feel a little bit limited in creating these looks. I felt like I was always reaching for shades like Sauce and Savage, and there was no good inner corner highlight with the exception of this matte shade. I do like the matte cream shade in Fresh. I think it's a good brow bone highlight. It's a good base shade, but there's nothing I can put on my inner corner in here that isn't going to be super bold. I do like to have a lighter shade that I can put on my inner corner. Of course I can reach for a highlight, but if I'm getting a palette with 20 shades in here, I want it to be incredibly versatile, and I do feel like it's lacking a few things. I think the two browns that they have in here are good. The two oranges are okay, although they are quite similar. But what I would have appreciated was another matte kind of burgundy shade so that I could create an entire kind of burgundy wine look along with another matte purple, because all of the purples here have some form of shimmer in here with the exception of TBT. And then there's no kind of matte burgundy here. You're getting this orange, so that could have easily been another kind of burgundy shade. And then up here, although I love gold shimmery, like don't get me wrong, I love them, but these four there's enough difference in them, but I still could have ditched one of them for another matte shade in here, if you know what I mean. It's not a make or break. I do think the shadow quality is good. They're blendable, they're pigmented, they're not too powdery, they have good lasting power on the eyes. I always wear an eyeshadow primer, but I do feel like I was really missing an inner corner highlight along with some just more mattes to even make it a little bit more versatile. I think they just overdid it a little bit with the shimmers here, but that's, you know, gonna be personal preference. Of course I have all of those shades in my collection, but like I said, when I have a big palette here, I don't want to be reaching for other things. But overall, I do enjoy this palette, so let's go ahead and get into the tutorials. So for look number one, I'm taking the shade Sauce and running through my crease, and gonna put it a little bit on my lower lash line too, just to kind of balance the look. I really find the eye looks unbalanced when there's nothing on the lower lash line. Then I'm gonna go ahead and go in with the shade Savage, which is a really nice kind of mid-tone orange. It's nothing too bold, so I think it makes a really nice option to kind of warm up the look, and again, bringing that on my lower lash line. On my lid, I'm taking some of the shade No Filter. I didn't wet my brush or add any extra primer, and then I thought it was okay with the brush, but I always like to go in with my finger, and then I'm also using a little bit of Lady Voss and No Filter mixed together, and I just thought it was so bright and impactful and just a really gorgeous warm gold combination. Going in with Goat, which is greatest of all time. Learned that not too long ago. On the outer corner and on the lower lash line, I thought I would brighten it up and use one of those purples. So I'm using the matte purple, which is TBT on the lower lash line. And on my inner corner, I'm taking the shade Fresh. Starting off with the shade Goals, you'll see that this is a much deeper orange than the shade Savage, which I was using earlier, putting that through the crease and along my lower lash line. Taking some of the matte purple TBT, putting that in my outer corner and up into the crease to kind of start getting the warmer shade going. That's when I would have really loved like a matte burgundy. Blending out with the shade Savage, which is the lighter orange. And then on my lid, I'm using the shade Living. I did put down a little extra primer, and of course, as always, going in with my finger to build it up a little bit more. And I thought I'd add some dimension with the shade FOMO. So I placed that on the middle of my lid and then a little bit on my inner corner as well. And if you're curious about the mascara or brows that I'm wearing or have on, I'll have that listed down below. So for this final look, I'm going full on purple, using the shade Sauce in my crease and on my lower lash line. Like I mentioned, there's not a ton of options here for mattes. So going back in with TBT, going to be using it much heavier than I did in the second look, and this is going to be a much more purple look. So running it through the crease, outer corner, and of course the lower lash line to balance. On the lid, I put down some more shadow primer, and then I put on Relevant. I felt like this needed a lot of building, and looking back at the video, I think it looks much more impactful with the lights shining on it than it did in person, in my opinion, so I think it looks really good here. And in my outer corner, I'm using Petty AF, which is a super shimmery shade, but I didn't really have many options, so I put it on the outer corner and lower lash line, and I thought it looked okay, but I would have rathered a matte. And I didn't really have many options to go for the inner corner, so I'm using Sunset, although it's a full-on purple. I put it on too much and kind of had to rub it away because it just gave me like a black eye look. So kind of put it towards the first third of my eye and like inching towards my inner corner, but I did like how this look turned out, and I put on some purple liner as well. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed these tutorials. Be sure to check out Chelle's channel. I will link her channel and her video on this palette down below. Overall, I think it's a good palette and I'm happy with it, but I do feel like it's missing a few shades in there, a couple missed opportunities. So let me know what you think of this palette and what your favorite look was down below. And if you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SamanthaJaneYT, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!